Hey everybody, welcome to Ask the Anabolic Doc, starring Dr. Thomas O'Connor, brought to you by his websites, metabolicdoc.com and anabolicdoc.com, both of which you can get his book, America on Steroids, A Time to Heal, also available on amazon.com. We have a very different show today. We have a guest. We're not going to show him, but we are going to hear from him. His name, are we saying your name, sir, or no?
Yeah, go ahead.
12-week cycle using the SARMs LGD 4033 and RAD 140. I started a post-cycle therapy protocol immediately following the cycle. My PCT was 4 weeks long and consisted of Clomid, 60 milligrams a day, dropped down to 25 milligrams after 1 week, Cardarine / GW 501516 at 20 milligrams a day, and MK677 / ibutamorin, 30 milligrams a day. About 4 days into PCT, I had noticeable vision changes caused by macular edema. I know the SARM S4 is known to cause vision problems. However, to my knowledge, I did not use that compound. Unsure if it was a delayed reaction from the SARMs or if it was from something in my PCT protocol, possibly even a combination of the 3 drugs I used. According to my retina specialist, he has never seen anything quite like my condition, but he states that it acts very similar to diabetic retinopathy. I'm not diabetic. I've had tons of blood work done at this point, and I'm otherwise healthy. The best diagnosis I can give you is occlusive retinal vasculopathy or vasculitis. At this point, I'm on prednisone, Cellcept, Humira, and Xarelto in an effort to stop the progression of retinal ischemia. I receive eye injections of an anti-VEGF called Avastin drug every 2 weeks and a steroid implant, dexamethasone, every 7 weeks. I hope this info will help you in speaking with the Yukon retina specialists and ophthalmologists. Thanks again for this opportunity to help myself and others, Dr. O. Yeah, Doctor, where do we begin? This is crazy.
Okay, so this is a big show. Sir, thank you for coming on the show. You're not on the show. You're obviously anonymous, and that's fine. So this is big. You know, this interrupts our regular show with the questions because, you know, I see things coming in. I've seen more of this because I think SARMs, I'm not sure if this is from SARMs or it's very interesting, sir. We'll call you sir. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, because this is amazing to me, and as the anabolic steroid expert in the world, at least I'm the open steroid expert. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, if you look on YouTube, there's a guy named Ryan Casey, and he about 2 months ago, I think, or what, pretty relatively recently, put up a YouTube says I went blind from SARMs. I went blind.
Wow. And
it's S4, but he rambles he rambles more than I do, which is great. So he talks about the different SARMs, and we're going to talk about the pathophysiology of this because I'm the doc. Mm-hmm. And this is serious, guys, very serious. But I want to ask you a few questions, sir. You want to tell us, Ron did a great job reading that, and because some of those words are pretty complicated, and it's medical stuff. It's unbelievable that, sir, you are on Cellcept, prednisone, Humira, Xarelto. This is the full-blown Monty kitchen sink that we would see someone on with severe disease, with transplant. These are transplant medicines. They're trying to shut down an autoimmune response, and this is like exactly, Ron wrote it, read it, it's a long day for me, occlusive retinopathy, vascular retinopathy, and vasculitis, and it's an unknown, so it's called ischemia, where you have no blood flow to that retinal, it's the retinal artery, it's the part of the retina, and your blood flow was limited. We had some type, I called the guys at UConn, I talked to the ophthalmology department chiefs up at UConn today. They have no idea. Wow. They haven't seen it either.
Yep.
So there you go. And so they explained it to me when I told them the story. I called them at lunch, and I got some experts on the phone, 2 of them actually. These are MD, PhD, ophthalmology, pathology experts at University of Connecticut School of Medicine. These are smart guys. They explained to me that Clomid has been known to cause this, but this is an amazing case because you say in your description, and you're very eloquent the way you're writing, sir, and you're a very bright man, obviously. You're saying SARMs S4. Is it that? Was it a combination? Could it have been a delayed reaction? This is what I want to think about. And obviously, all these meds are, we don't even know. This is insane now. If you're on steroids, you need to come in and maybe get on some testosterone and just live on testosterone, guys. Ron, right, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, I've never had any major issues with testosterone.
Well, so we're gambling in Vegas. You're just taking chances. Okay, so this is a vasculopathy of the retinal artery, and it's affected, hopefully not permanent blindness. Most of these case reports, it looks like they're for women. They're on women with Clomid. Right? They're on. If you read, they're on women with Clomid because it's mainly used with women. No one knows yet in the real world, in the medical world, about PCT and all the stuff we're doing, but it's coming fast. So I mean, because here's the big ophthalmology guys at a huge medical center, and they were clueless. So
Absolutely.
the good news is it's not happening that much. The bad news is they don't know what to do, and they don't know. This is going to be super rare. And it's dose dependent. If you look at Clomid, it's going to be dose dependent. And if you read the case studies, it's women typically. Obviously, it's been all women that I've seen, except for this guy who's on YouTube called Ryan Casey. Now, and that's SARMs. He thinks it's S4 related because temporally in time it was related to S4 use, and his blindness went away. But you can watch his video beyond the rambling and stuff, kind of like I do. He does tell some very good stuff. So, but in the end, this medical case is your case here, and it's really SARMs use superimposed on a post-psychotherapy with a medicine that can cause visual disturbances. The visual disturbance does occur in the retina. It is unknown, the mechanism. It looks like it's an inflammatory condition or an embolic where there's some kind of an occlusion, maybe a clot or something that forms on that retinal artery. But they're attacking it. The way they're attacking it here is they're using, this is why I'm the doc, they're using prednisone. That's autoimmune. We use prednisone for everything. We want to shut down the process, prednisone. Cellcept is a medicine that's an anti-rejection drug we use for kidney transplant people and heart transplants, not to mention other medical issues. Humira is used, it's a biologic agent we use for autoimmune conditions like Crohn's disease, rheumatoid arthritis. Look at this. Then Xarelto is a drug. It's an anticoagulant we give for DVTs, pulmonary embolism, people that have AFib. This is why I'm doing this. This is the full freaking Monty they're giving you. Hey, they're trying to shut down some process. Now, the Avastin is for macular degeneration. I may be wrong on that. They're injecting into your eyes. So go ahead and tell us your story. What's going on?
Yeah, so basically my doctor, my retina specialist is like you said, throwing everything they can at it. He basically said, they're going with a shotgun approach, trying to knock it out any way they can. Basically the ischemia, or the like you said, the lack of blood flow has gotten fairly close to my macula, which I don't know how familiar you are with the retina, but that's your central pinpoint vision that you use to read, to drive, everything like that. So if it gets there, you're blind pretty much. At this point, it's mostly in my periphery, and I have some missing chunks in my peripheral vision from the lack of blood flow. But he says with the Avastin injections, which you are correct that it is used for macular degeneration, but he says that can promote like remodeling of the vessels that have been damaged or closed off. So over time, a year or two, he says that possibly may be able to come back. So that's where I'm at right now, and I'm unsure as far as the whether it's a like a coagulant issue or whether it's mostly caused by the inflammation. But I would tend to think, I'm not a hematologist, but I would tend to think it's been over a year and a half now that if it was related to a blood clot or something like that, that would have cleared at this point. I'm not sure, that may be more something that you would know about. But I mean, a year and a half later, would a blood clot or something like that, would that be cleared if I've been on Xarelto?
What's happened is you had these cells, when they're heart cells, brain cells, retinal cells, when they are damaged from blood supply, lack of blood supply, for a long enough period, it goes from ischemia to necrosis, and cell death, and that's like a heart attack. Like if the heart, if you have a little heart attack or a big heart attack, there's a scar on. For an example, the heart. If you look at, which I know a lot about, the heart will have a blockage, and you had a heart attack, and then you live if you don't go into a dangerous rhythm and you don't collapse and have cardiac arrest. So your heart keeps pumping, and it doesn't always pump well afterwards because part of the heart that was reduced, the blood flow is occluded. It doesn't come back, and it goes through a scarring process.
Gotcha.
It's dead. It's called infarcted. You in this position, have to. There's some permanent. Hopefully, they're trying to reverse because you had a lack of blood flow for a long enough period that it caused some damage. And they're trying to back that off to resupply. And you are right, buddy. Embolic phenomenon means that, and this is all like strokes and heart attacks. It's all very similar. The blood flow, you have an artery, not a vein. It's an artery. It's open, and if you need to deliver blood through it, if for different reasons, if it closes because it collapses, or because it vasospasms, or you get a little piece of a clot stuck in there from somewhere else, all those three scenarios, you end up down from that part where the blockage is, not getting blood supply, correct?
Correct.
You had that in a very fragile, this is why the body's so fragile, and it's when you're so young, you can do almost anything, but things like this are very rare, and we pray to God that you don't hit the macula, of course, so that's central vision, and your peripheral vision comes back from what these guys were doing, but after a year and a half, I mean, my next question was going to be like, was it last week? Was it a month ago? So
yeah, it's been a year and a half.
Okay, so you're under great care. I did just quick research and I talked to some experts at obviously a huge medical center up in the Northeast. They just didn't know. I did some quick research. The mechanism of action needs to be known. We don't know like you said, is it an embolic? Is it a clot? Was it vasospasm where it spasmed and closed? Or was it an occlusion? Was it, and why? And then what most of these things with Clomid are reversible.
Yeah, that's what I read as well.
Yeah, and I had guys come in and they go, Doc, man, no more Clomid PCT for me, bro, because I was going into some guy, this is one story out of 100. He was going into a light area to a dark area into a garage, in a parking garage, like seeing like his girlfriend, and he freaking smashed into a car because his eyes couldn't adjust. And he was like blind when he went from the very light to the very dark.
Yeah.
And he saw trailers, flashes, trails, flashes, floater. Look, I mean, we don't know the mechanism, and a lot of it on Clomid, it looks like it's dose dependent. I'm trying to give guys everything they can because I use Clomid. I just put a big video out. I use Clomid for fertility with men. We added on to HCG for guys that have anabolic steroid-induced hypogonadism. It does help for fertility. Now I'm getting worried. I mean, but everything we use is potentially dangerous, right? Right, Ron?
Yeah. So I'm curious. Clomid has this reputation of, in rare cases, leading to vision loss. I haven't heard anything regarding that with SARMs. Have you?
Well, no, I haven't. And so when I did the research and I found out on YouTube, Ryan Casey had a very descriptive in time use of different SARMs, and then he was on S4, and he said he took an increased dose of S4 the night before, and he woke up and he was like freaking, he was like blind for a while, and he was trying to search for his phone, and it did reverse. And he watched the video, man. He's like, no more SARMs, guys. And he's a young, good-looking guy who's obviously on and off SARMs, and he's like everyone else. He's got like 110,000 followers on YouTube, and he's telling his story.
Now, could there be some sort of synergistic, in a bad way, reaction of this SARM?
Well, what he said, and the guys, and let's look at the data. There is no data. The data on SARMs, the recent data on SARMs came from the guy at Harvard, right? The guys over at Harvard again. Yeah. And they didn't even look at mechanisms. They just said, what are SARMs? They don't even, these are not bodybuilders, these are not anabolic docs. These are guys that are interested in the culture of steroids. And of course, medically, they're interested for what is it doing, and is it hurting people? So the guy says, the first study, let's just see what we get when we buy 50 SARMs off the black market. And Ron, remember that study? I was interviewed for the New York Times for that study with that guy. And I don't want to say his. I just don't want to say his names. I just don't like all these guys anymore. Everyone's fighting and being jerks, and I'm not here to support and promote anyone else. So the truth of the matter is, you can find the article, SARMs, New York Times. Yeah. So this guy's study showed that half of the stuff off the internet was butkus. So you guys don't even know. And then this kid, Casey, talks about they're probably pHs, and they're probably Anavar. He didn't say that. He said pHs because they're just going to, pHs are illegal, so they want to unload all these places when Obama made pHs illegal. They just want to unload the pHs, and the pHs work. The pHs work, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're oral steroids, basically.
But so they're steroids. Yeah. So what else, guys? What else, sir? What else do you want to tell us?
You know, I like I said, I don't know if it was the Clomid or whatever it may have been. I do know I didn't notice anything until after the SARM cycle, and I was about 4 days into that PCT with Clomid, Cardarine, and that MK677. So that would lead me to think that it was something in the PCT. And like you said, there's been some research on Clomid with visual changes, but like my doctor said, nothing exactly leading to a case like I have where these vessels are closing off and there's a lack of blood flow. It's kind of more like you said, trailers and floaters, stuff like that usually reverses in a timely manner. But in my case, it's just crazy, man. I'm in my early 20s. I was a professional athlete as this happened, and it basically knocked my career out the window. So so I'm in a situation where I'm trying to recover from this and get back to what I love to do, but just not sure what it was. And like you said, I did get everything off the internet. So whether that Clomid I got was legitimate or not, who knows? Whether those SARMs that I got were actually LGD and RAD, who knows? It could have been S4 or it could have been a pro-hormone or an oral steroid. Who knows? I got it from a
But that's the thing. I mean,
website.
If you think it's a SARM, maybe the SARM, look, Clomid does work. All this stuff has different effects and it works. What if you just packed up and what if the SARM cycle was Clomid and vice versa? Well, what if the Clomid was was SARM? Maybe you were, no one's going to know.
Another interesting fact, I did get my my hormone levels checked probably 3 months after the cycle and after the PCT. My test levels were in the 200s. So I would assume that Clomid would have fixed that if it was a legitimate Clomid source.
But hold on. How many weeks after stopping Clomid did you get the blood work done?
Probably about 8 weeks.
Oh, it's useless. The effects go away within days.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
so that doesn't mean anything.
Dr. O'Connor, even without PCT, for a guy in his early 20s who had just been using SARMs, wouldn't you think, Trip, was this about so you had the blood test about 8 or 10 weeks after ceasing the use of the SARMs? Is that right?
After stopping the use of the PCT.
Okay. I mean, I would think even if without PCT, a guy in his early 20s would regain normal testosterone levels within that time.
They say SARMs don't shut you down or don't suppress you, but apparently that's false.
So that's the thing, guys. So another thing that when I watched Casey's video this morning, getting ready for today, and Casey goes, I did my PCT after my SARM cycles, and I'm thinking, why would you need PCT after SARMs? Yeah. If it's SARM, you don't need PCT. So you, sir, we pray to God that your vision comes back and that you can compensate for this. You can have some compensation. Any other medical? If I could help you out, any medical issues? What other medical issues do you have?
None. I'm 100% healthy. As far as all the medications I'm on, it kind of gives me a lot of fatigue and everything like that. But as far as my blood work and everything, I'm healthy as a horse, man. And before I got on all this medication, because they didn't think it was an ongoing process, but maybe 3 or 4 months after I initially presented to my retina specialist, it continued to progress. So that's why they threw in all these new medications, the systemic medications. But before I was on all those, I mean, I could have ran a marathon. You know, I just couldn't see.
Wow.
Well, are you on? It's 18 months now. 18 months.
Just about. I think I first presented to my retina specialist in June of 2017.
But you're still on prednisone. You're still on all the stuff now.
Prednisone they just threw that in a couple of months ago, about 2-3 months ago.
How much are you on?
I started on 60. I've been tapered down to 20, and they want to taper down a little more. The Humira is fairly new too. We're kind of waiting for that to kick in. Waiting for that to be working as well as it can before we get off of the prednisone.
Wow, but I mean, this is just, this is very esoteric. Your testosterone levels, you're going to have to keep checking that because, again, you're a man, you've done SARMs at least, and if you have permanently reduced androgens, you're going to want to make sure that you take care of that in the future. And obviously, no one's going to sell you on using Clomid or HCG or any. You just go on testosterone.
Yeah, and the thing is, with my profession, if I can get it back, that is being an athlete. All these guys, my teammates and everything, they all use PEDs. So I mean, when and if this recovers, if I was to ever go on anything ever again, I would just run like a mediocre dose of testosterone and probably not use any PCT, possibly HCG. If there's no evidence of any vision problems on HCG, then that might be what I do. But definitely never going to touch Clomid or Novadex, and maybe even want to stay away from AIs. I don't know if those are similar to SERM.
We don't know. So this is why I'm trying to make this a legitimate science, everyone. I got some big cats on the hooks. I got some big unfortunately, no one's going to get rich from this, and that's why no one gives a shit. But I mean, because they're all generic drugs, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so no one gives a shit. But as far as giving a shit about 12 million men or whatever 4 to 12 million, it's the estimation of men that are on, including SARMs now. It's 12. It's in my opinion, 12 million. The conservative opinion is at least 4 million. 4 million. If you go with a low number, and it's probably more, it's 20 million because look at you. You look at a guy like you. You're not doing surveys. No one's asking you. You don't exist. And I see a lot of people that don't exist.
Yeah, and as I was doing research for this, looking for something similar, I'm thinking, well, my case isn't posted all over the internet, so what would make somebody else's case be posted all? So there may be somebody out there who has a similar situation that just hasn't been brought to light.
That's why we're doing this. And is there any? It's amazing, but I'm just amazed your testosterone is so low still. I mean, prednisone. Interestingly enough, look, you got to stay. You got good doctors. You got to listen to them. Prednisone, funny enough, the medicines you're on will knock down testosterone. We hope that's not going to be permanent. But you have to be monitored. You have to be monitored. And the beautiful thing of this day and age is, and I see it every day. Certainly today, I talk to multiple doctors. Now I have referrals from primary care doctors every week, and it's because they care about their patients. And they realize they're suffering. Their numbers are really hitting the streets, and the patients and the men are saying, doc, you can't just push me out of the room and tell me to come off stuff. You got to help me out now, doc. So you got to tell your doctors about that. Maybe someone's going to work with me or find me, and we're going to come together and we're going to really do some big work, But again, because we're not doing it for money. There's no money. Big Pharma doesn't want to. I've already tried talking to Big Pharma. They don't give a shit about this because there's no money to be made in this.
Exactly.
So it's just altruism. It's only altruism. And if you're really interested, some of the big university centers are showing interest because they actually do care about public health and what's going on. It's very sexy now, and there are huge numbers of people. Look at you. Hopefully this is very, very rare, but I hope, of course, you pull out of this and it doesn't damage you forever. I mean, God.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, like I said, I in the future, if I can get my athletic career back, I would be interested in doing something to either get my testosterone back on track or, consult with somebody based on if I say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to run testosterone, but I want to do it in a way that's not going to harm me because I've had this history, so, seeing yourself or somebody very similar to yourself to kind of monitor a situation like that is definitely what I would do at that point in time. So, and as far as the blood work that I got that did show my testosterone being lowered, that was before all of these systemic drugs got thrown in the mix.
Wow.
So that was, just maybe 2 months after I finished Clomid and everything. And I had just presented, to my retina specialist with all these vision changes. So, I don't know. And my main concern with continuing to use PEDs was, fertility. I do want to have kids at some point. I'm young now, so that's down the road. But, I watched your most recent video, and it sounded like it's very reversible, even if you are on, or what they say, blasting and cruising, a high dose and then drop down to like a TRT dose. It is able to be brought back. So if that's the case, then, maybe I just won't come off until it's a situation where that warrants itself,
It's possible, and it's HCG. I'm going to give the secret to it right here. It's HCG, and if you please, everyone, watch that video, the Anabolic Doc. It's about fertility with steroids, and it's really a fun video. It's because of real studies from the guys at Baylor, and there's real doctors doing this now. These are fertility urology guys. Awesome. And HCG, and there's Brevel and Overdrill, which are expensive derivatives of these gonadotropins for $4,000. But you know what? HCG, man, it works like a charm. You definitely don't. Obviously you saw my video where we start with HCG, and then we check a semen analysis within 3 to 6 months, and then we add Clomid, and it works really well, depending on how shut down guys are. And then a guy like you, if I don't talk to you ever again, buddy, you need HCG, no SERMs. That's pathetic. No SERMs ever. Not Novadex. That would be dumb.
Yeah.
Don't let anyone talk you into that. First of all, you need nothing. Try going with nothing as long as you can, and try to bank some sperm maybe. And then if you go on testosterone, if you actually have to use it, you use lowest possible physiologic doses, and then you use little HCG. I think it's not bad using it during. The studies show you can. But those studies are limited to 1 year. I have guys on for 10 years, and I can tell you there's going to be downregulation and desensitization. So I typically keep guys on testosterone. We don't do anything. And then when they're ready to go for fertility, I take the T off, and I blast them with HCG from 1,500 to 3,000 IUs every other day. It works like a charm. And then, of course, you could add Brevel. That's the secret. You add, it's a recombinant form of HMG, which is FSH. There's the secret. That's the secret. And watch my video, go to a very good urologist or someone like me, and just don't let anyone talk. This is evidence-based medicine now. This is evidence. I don't think those would be dangerous for you because that's HCG. Again, I'm not your doctor, but I'm just thinking of what mechanism. We don't see blindness. We see fluid overload with AIDS. I did have a guy have a heart attack once on HCG.
Yeah, I heard that in the video.
Wow.
Because he overloaded he just overloaded. And then he had heart attack. He's in his 40s, almost 50. He wanted to have a kid. I tried talking him out of it. He didn't. He goes, Doc, I got to do it. Like, okay. So we give him HCG. He had hypertension, bad family history. He had blood clots. He already had plaque in the artery, horrible cholesterol panel, and he was pre-diabetic. We put him on HCG for 3 months. He had a heart attack.
Man.
And because his blood pressure skyrocketed. Because he was just filled up like a balloon because all the HCG caused a hell of a lot more edema than just a little test.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an interesting case. I mean, he's okay, but he had a freaking heart attack.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a similar situation to me where you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I was in a situation where I was completely healthy before this happened, and no medical issues at all, in really good shape actually, and it just came out of nowhere. So, but in the future, as far as using testosterone, whether as a performance enhancer or if I'm just on like a TRT dose, would something like say if I was to run a mild dose, like of a performance enhancing dose, like maybe 400 milligrams a week, and then tee off after 8-10 weeks, is that something where I would be okay without using anything for a PCT, or is that just stupid?
No, PCT, don't say that word PCT. I mean, first of all, Ron loves me.
Yeah.
First of all, 400 milligrams a week, I love you. That's steroid dose. TRT is like 100 milligrams every 5 to 7 days. It is what it is.
No, he said, doctor, that would be his blast. Would be like 400, and he would cruise on.
Yeah, if I was using it for performance enhancing purposes,
okay.
And I was consulting, rather than coming to you for my prescription, if I was just saying, hey, this is what I'm doing, I want to do it correctly.
Yeah.
Well, I can't, obviously, I don't want to get caught with my pants down, but I'm also an honest guy. Like I don't tell guys how to use steroids. I can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I don't feel it's ethical. So, but guys who use steroids all over the world use me, and I basically look at everything. We have a great rapport. I obviously don't give them a hard time, but I look at their body, I look at their hearts, I look at their individual medical issues, and I try to convince them to just go on TRT, bro. Or not in your case, I do some PCT for them, but it's all man per man. You see that, guys? It's man per man. Doctors need to understand this is super complicated. So, like, when you guys know more than the doctor, that's not a good thing. So that's not that. And Ron's laughing. So that's not a good setup. So, but the fortunate piece is, guys, there's not many medicines. If we're looking in the black bag, there's not much. There's gear, and then there's like SARMs, SERMs, HCG, and aromatase inhibitors. Boom. I mean, how much? But if what I just said, the primary care doctors, which I will be teaching, I'm doing teaching webinars to doctors all over the world, South Africa, we're going to Australia, New Zealand. We're trying to teach these guys. They don't even know what those things are. They don't understand, because I've been involved in the world with it for 30 years. Me and Ron, we live, sleep, eat, and shit it. These doctors don't. You're a very young man, and you know a hell of a lot more about that stuff than the standard great doctor does. So we got to meet that. So, but to answer your question, I mean, which I can't answer your question. If you're doing 400 blast, you just want to stay on the lowest possible dose. I say the same thing all the time, the same stuff. You want to stay in the lowest possible dose of T. You at a certain point when you have low T, you're never going to come off, dude.
Yeah.
Because you have anabolic steroid-induced hypogonadism. Welcome to like 20 million people, 2 million, who knows, millions. So you just don't want to blast and cruise. You just want to cruise. But if you do blast, it doesn't mean I don't love you. It just means that you're pushing the envelopes, and then of more shutting yourself down more, losing more hair. I mean, we've never seen steroids cause retinal disease, which is interesting, but steroids definitely cause aneurysms, hypertension, coronary artery disease, prostate disease, not prostate cancer, but BPH, kidney disease. Look at me, look at my life. This is what I deal with professionally all day long. More guys today. Another guy came in with kidney failure today. Another guy, 42, full-blown kidney failure. I have like 40 of them now. More, I think I have more, 50. And that's because they're older. They're in their 40s, and they've been on gear for 20 years, and they did not manage ever the blood pressure, the basic stuff. So you're a baby. You're a young man. I'm not putting you down, sir. You're a young man. Right, Ron? He's like our son's age.
Yeah, he's younger than my daughter, I think, actually.
So, again, but look, guys are going to blast and cruise. I think in the end of the day, I'll say a big statement here. Getting off the SARMs and the pro-hormones is probably the right way, and just end up doing testosterone.
Absolutely.
Right,
if I ever start something again, that's what I'm going to do.
Because we know testosterone. I mean, your body knows testosterone. Then it becomes a dose-dependent phenomenon. Yeah. If you use more, right, Ron? I mean, then
we have 50 years of people using steroids to look at. We don't have 50 years of people using SARMs to look at.
And what I do is, if a guy's going to be on testosterone, I provide him with a stable dose, and I protect his arteries, his kidneys, his prostate, and of course his mind and his brain.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's it's very simple, but the concepts are simple, but the physiology and the pathophysiology is freaking. Look at this case, Ron.
Yeah.
I don't even know. This is well beyond me.
Yeah, if it baffles the anabolic doc, wow. You don't get stumped.
What else, Ron? What else, Ron? What's going on, Ron?
I think this brings up a good thing. Next time, let's talk about PCT, because I don't think we've ever really gone into it. But now I'm thinking the need might be there to talk about it in depth.
Next show, PCT. I'll be ready.
PCT. Trip, thank you for your story. I really sincerely hope this reverses the situation with your eye, and you get your vision back. And it would be it'd be a shame to hear this about anybody, but a professional athlete, a young guy, and that was that's what you were going to do with your life, was professional in sports. And I nothing but the best. I hope this works out for you, dude.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for the well wishes, and appreciate you allowing me to come on here and share. And from what I can gather, it sounds like Clomid is the most likely culprit, but we don't know at this point. So I guess the thing that everyone needs to leave here with is be careful when you don't know what you're dealing with. But again, thank you guys for allowing me to use this platform.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I'll stay in touch with you with email. I'll stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Doctor, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled program next week. And this is some things to think about for anyone out there who uses Clomid, for sure. Probably not a good idea to use it, just in case. And SARMs. Well, yeah, I mean, theoretically you can't get those anymore. Although, I can still get them if I want to. But that's it. So we'll have more questions and topics next week. Trip, thank you again for everything. Dr. O'Connor, thank you for bringing this to our attention. And this is definitely something for everyone to think about and be aware about. So that's it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So for the Ask the Anabolic Doc, you want to check out his websites, anabolicdoc.com and metabolicdoc.com. His YouTube channel, Anabolic Doc, and you'll get all kinds of great video content there that's being posted on a regular basis. New videos, 1 or 2 a week, Doctor, at this point?
1 a week, yeah. Well, I'm going to stay this Tuesday nights right now. Just always going to do. I got so much going on. I'm so happy. Every Tuesday night we're going to post. We're just going to post something great. That's it.
Okay, so keep an eye out for that, and of course keep watching this show. Can't have you stop doing that. We need our viewers. We love you guys. So thank you very much for watching, everyone. That's the Anabolic Doc. We will see you next time.